So, I never really got too deep into My Little Pony. The only exposure I really had was just to fit in with my classmates. Masking, behavior, autism, all that fun stuff. However, I was really into creepypasta. So, I, of course, found out about My Little Pony Grimdark stories. And I was genuinely disturbed by some of these. The Cough, Rainbow Factory, Luna Game were all genuinely disturbing to a 13-year-old mind. Okay, maybe I'm just a little baby, but that's beside the point. Okay, who the fuck? Alright, so this is a thing now. Fantastic. Alright, today I guess I am Patchwing. Just call me Patcher, this is too confusing. Well, continuing on, there were many who were greatly disturbed by these stories. Their childhoods ruined by someone with too much time on their hands. Obviously, not something I find too bad, in some cases. Many online have accounted for this, and something I find extremely funny is a quote from now retired YouTuber Baptism on Fire. I like to think the reason we have all this cutesy romantic creepypasta art and fanfiction written by young girls is simply to get back at the grown men who took My Little Pony from them and turn it into this gory adult fan-made monstrosity. End quote. Honestly, although a joke of the video, it's a joke I can see being completely true. But whether this be true or not, it definitely had an effect on young and older fans alike. There are far too many grimdark stories for me to cover in one video, and not making me want to pull my hair out with editing. So, I figured I would go through 2 stories at a time, that way I can make this a series of videos, but also work on other things on the side. So, for today, I want to start with 2 stories of the main 6, M-A-N-E, for those who don't know. These known as The Cough by Ebon Mane, and The Friendship Test by Magpie Pony and The Lost Narrator here on YouTube. It will be in the description. Obviously, a massive trigger warning for scary or disturbing subjects, as well as gore and implications of unaliving, let's just say. Viewer discretion is obviously advised. The cough takes place in an apocalyptic Equestria, the only indication being that of a cough. Many stories around this time were centered around a singular character. Cupcakes, Rainbow Factory, Apple Sleep Experiment being only a few. This story stood out to me, though, being a short story involving the entire cast of the main 6. This apocalyptic Equestria is actually a very popular AU in the My Little Pony fandom now, and it's actually something I wish to cover later on. It's also the inspiration for the background footage you see right now, and the thumbnail. In the pitch-black room, a cough is heard. Twilight lights up her horn, demanding to know who coughed. She glared at all of her friends. No one spoke up. Rainbow Dash just stared at her while she held Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie holding a bag of flour close to her chest, unable to comprehend the world around them. On the only bed, Rarity and Applejack lay together, Rarity burying herself into the Earth Pony's shoulder, shaking and crying. Applejack and Rainbow Dash stared at her, Rainbow seeing no point in this. Twilight maintains that they should try to survive as a group, rather than none of them. Fluttershy wishes to wait, assuming it could just be dust from the cold or from poor hygiene. But it's not a risk anyone, especially the princess, is willing to take. Applejack sadly agrees with her, which upsets Rainbow desperately, asking why her magic just can't cure it. Twilight knows the risks, the dangers, as not even the princesses can cure this illness, only contain it. So anyone who coughs must be killed to save the rest. Fluttershy states that she was the one who coughed, saying she wouldn't be able to live with herself if one of her friends died, it being better this way. Rainbow Dash is distraught, as with no weapons and Twilight's insistence, she would be the one who took Fluttershy's life. As the two have been friends since they were fillies, and Rainbow's protective nature over her, it was for the best she be the one to do it, which she reluctantly agrees to. Applejack tells Fluttershy to stand by the wall, a kick to her skull being a quick death. The two Pegasi share their last goodbyes, Fluttershy asking for her animals to be cared for when this is all over before the light is cut, leaving the room in complete darkness. Rainbow Dash bucks at Fluttershy's head once, twice, 3, 4, 5, until she knows the job is done. She begins silently weeping, feeling the warm blood on her hooves beginning to clot, wondering if this stain will be permanent. The darkness remains until some pony coughed. This story is not even a 10-minute read, but the details of the shadows from the small light, the way most are holding one another, the acknowledgement of how filthy the room is, these subtle details really give a dark atmosphere that adds to the creep factor, not to mention the mystery of it all. Fluttershy's statement about how she couldn't live with herself seeing one of her friends die being a quiet acknowledgement of why she cannot stand to stay in this situation. She knew she was the one who didn't cough, a detail Rainbow Dash would have noticed a bit more if she had been paying closer attention. The two were huddled together. She would have felt it. But the stress of the whole situation made her completely forget, or purposely forget. Could Fluttershy have known Rainbow coughed and wanted to just save her friend? Could it have been Twilight and her assertive nature being a mask to hide the fact that she was the one who coughed? Pinkie Pie was barely mentioned in the story, which could be some leeway into possibly her being the one who coughed. Applejack and Rarity were also huddled together, so it could only be a cover. Applejack is the element of honesty, but is this one of the times her element is not needed in this moment? Or could Fluttershy actually have been the one who coughed, and it spread so much faster than the others could have thought? The story doesn't have a complete concrete answer and leaves many to come up with theories as to the true pony who coughed. There's actually a couple different versions of a second part of the story, the most popular stating that Applejack was the one who coughed both times, leaving Pinkie Pie to kill her. The remaining 4 make it out alive, but I personally love the unknown of this story, and I think it's best we never know who coughed. I saw a lot of people believe it to be Pinkie Pie, but there was also many who believed it was Twilight and Rainbow Dash. It truly shows how people can read into the story in so many different ways, interpretations and opinions changing between each person who reads it. I think this can really add to any piece of horror, and it can give another person a different reason to be afraid of this media. The friendship test. The story begins with Twilight Sparkle waking up, describing herself as feeling like dead weight. Attempting to lighten the world around her, her magic was unable to be used. Looking around herself, she sees her friends. However, a translucent ring of light surrounds each of them, a rare and dangerous spell. As each of them awaken from their slumber, Twilight informs each of them of the spell around them. An old spell capable of delivering a strong, deadly shock. Out pops Starlight Glimmer. She applauds Twilight, keeping everyone safe, mocking the fact that her magic is just as powerful as the magic of friendship, questioning whether it even is as good as it claims to be. She reminds Twilight of her many escapades, brainwashing an entire village as well as the main 6, alternating a time travel spell, aiding with the Crystal Heart, and taking on the Changeling Hive almost single-handedly. Each rather impressive for her, but it angers her to think she still needs to learn the magic of friendship, calling it a second-rate magic. She explains her want to test each element to the fullest, that a lifetime of disappointment cannot make up all the tests she's made, and the place she can't find in her new surroundings, even after she made up for her past, calling friendship a complete lie. So, she wishes to test each element, using the most negative of each, stating that if no one cooperated, she doubted they'd come out alive. The first test involves kindness, whether they would be kind to those next to them and taking the branding for themselves or giving it to some pony else. The branded marking would be the one she bestowed upon the villagers, an equal sign replacing their cutie marks, except this time, it would be directly on top of them, and permanent. Starting with Fluttershy, the element of kindness herself, only given 30 seconds to decide the fate of Pinkie Pie. The others around her began to offer encouragement and advice, something Fluttershy could only hear as a loud droning noise due to the fear and stress of the situation. Pinkie Pie begs Fluttershy to brand her, who she reluctantly decided to listen to. Pinkie Pie cries out in anguish and pain as the hot iron was pressed into her flank, Starlight counting the 5 seconds she was required to hold it against her. Then, one by one, each has to decide the other's fate. Pinkie Pie branded Rarity. Rarity branding Twilight without hesitation, Twilight branding herself once more despite the protests, Rainbow deciding to brand Applejack, but instead charged at Starlight. With Starlight protected by a magic shield, she proved her words true, as Applejack's ring blinded inside the room, the shock killing Applejack instantly. Rainbow stood over her charred corpse, crying in anguish at the consequences of her actions, but Starlight held no sympathy. Applejack still needed to be branded, which Rainbow did with anger and regret. Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash were the only ones without a branding, the element of kindness proving to be a failure to this test, as even the element of kindness herself wasn't kind enough to take the branding for herself. Next was the test of loyalty, another punishment for the Pegasus for the loss of poor Applejack at her rash decision. Each is given a choice, 3 lashings with a metal rod or stabbing the person to their left this time. Where did each other's loyalty lie? Rainbow immediately took the rod with no hesitation. However, Twilight's decision was changed. Stab Rarity or 3 lashes to Rainbow Dash. Twilight knew that the knife would cause significant damage, so she decided to give the 3 lashings to Rainbow, who pleaded with her not to. The first hit given to her caused a fracture to her wing almost immediately. Rarity, despite the pleads from Pinkie Pie, who begged her to stab her, gave her 3 more lashings to Rainbow, whose cries were merely moans of pain. Pinkie Pie knew any more of this would kill her. So she decided to stab a begging Fluttershy. The final decision was changed. Stab anyone of your choosing, or 3 more lashings to Rainbow Dash. Fluttershy couldn't stab anyone in the room after her own, so Rainbow was hit 3 more times. In response, Rainbow gurgled blood. Waiting for the screams of pain, none came. Pinkie Pie cried out to her while Starlight examined the wounds to her body. Rainbow Dash was no more, loyalty proving as a failure, just like kindness. Starlight transferred each to a different room, strapping their hooves to chains. Glass cages surrounded them. Laughter was next, and each subject was put through the same test. A mixture of a toxic gas and laughing gas filled the enclosure. Being told breathing this gas through their mouth was a death sentence. Each tried their best, Rarity attempting to hold her breath, Fluttershy holding back tears, Twilight keeping calm and seemingly meditating. But Pinkie Pie, being the element of laughter, struggled. Despite only being seconds away, Pinkie Pie laughed, hoping she would see Rainbow Dash again. The effects of the toxin was almost like mustard gas, as her face was mangled with boils and blisters. Next was generosity, which Starlight admitted was the hardest for her to create. The remaining 3 were left in the tubes, as each filled with water. Twilight knew one of them had to die, and decided she would be the one to go. Fluttershy had to return to her animals. Rarity needed to care for her sister and the other 2 Crusaders who lost their sisters today. As Twilight tried to give her last goodbyes, she was cut short, the tank filling with water as she drowned right there. After watching their friend drown, they struggled to keep their heads above water, but the truth was made clear. The princess of friendship was gone, and it was on to the final test. Lastly was honesty, though Starlight admitted there was one more, if not for Applejack's early death. 2 siders are placed in front of each of them, each being chance or choice. If both pick chance, fate will decide who lives or dies. If one chooses chance and the other choice, the one who picked chance will die. If both choose choice, they will both die. They are given 2 minutes to discuss this. But will they truly be honest with their final decision? The 2 stared at one another, but both began to debate. They agreed to choose the chance option, and the cider was placed in front of them. Starlight let slip that the bottom of the mugs held the truth of who chose which option, to which it was shown that one lied. Fluttershy began to choke on the poison as Rarity apologized and cried out to her in her dying moments. Rarity had failed. As the sole survivor of the test, Starlight began to gleefully ask for Rarity to read out the test results before she was allowed to return home. One simple phrase. After thorough investigation and testing, it can be concluded that friendship isn't magic. This story is fantastic. The intense atmosphere, the writing, the stakes all make this story a fantastic read. In the My Little Pony series, for obvious reasons, the positives of each element is the main focus of the show, but to see each turned on its head is so amazing to see. This story reminds me a lot of the 2012 movie Would You Rather, having a very similar presentation, but none in an amazing way that fits the My Little Pony world creatively. The main six each possess a strong element they have used time and time again to not only save the world, but to also teach friendship to those around them. But to take these elements and use them against one another, seeing how each reacts to their elements test, is an intense and stressful feeling that works amazingly well. So, yeah, these were the two stories I wanted to talk about with you all. At some point, I want to talk about the infected AUs I've seen, but I also need to start drawing more again and writing again. It has been a long time since I started working on this, but I finally found my energy. I can't promise consistency, but just know I am doing artwork all the time now just to kind of get myself through all this. So with that, I think I'm gonna just end it here. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I really appreciate anyone who watches these. I have scripts in mind and lots of topics to discuss, so we shall see where we go from here. Thank you, and have a good night. Bye-bye.